How y'all doing today, my friends? Today I got part 15 of the Chris Chan and Alec Benson Leary phone call series. And my god, I'll be honest with y'all right now, I did not know how much longer we had to go here. I thought we only had a few more parts and that would be it, but dear lord, as I've started to realize this, we still have like a good 6 or 7 parts of this. So, strap yourselves in, because there's tons of madness still to come. And where we left off, Alec and Chris were going back and forth on whether Alec is in the moral right to draw Sonichu. And he's kind of taken aback when Chris says, he's fine with that as long as he calls it a parody. And, you'd think, because Chris is like, he has so many prerequisites for all this stuff, change your characters to this, don't do this to my characters, but as long as you just write, this is a parody on there, Chris would be entirely cool with it. So, we're going to see how the conversation goes from here. It's going to get a lot more wacky. Chris is going to do something to try to throw this phone call off completely in just a little bit, so wait for that. And yeah, I hope y'all enjoy it. As I say in the beginning of all these, the full unedited part without my commentary is down in the description below, as well as all the other former parts. My Twitch channel's down there, my Discord channel's down there, and I hope you guys have a good time watching this, and let's just get right into it.
I would accept that, yeah. And plus, don't make them so big. Maybe like 3/4 of the current size. 3/4.
Nah. Then no one can read the text. I'm not going to make it smaller. It's kind of hard to read the text already.
I should have those pages on your Asperpedia. People could just go over there and read them for themselves.
But the whole point of Sonichu Revolution is to make up for your lack of updates. Why would I put it on my Asperpedia? That defeats the purpose. I'm keeping the fans there for you, Chris.
Because
thank you.
Because you're drawing those pages, not me.
So after all that time of trying to get Chris to really admit why he cares so much about Alec drawing his own version of Sonichu, he finally, in a very defeated way, just says, because you're doing it and not me. Now, granted, any artist would feel that way about their work. You don't want someone else just taking it and saying, oh, this is mine now, and I'm going to continue the story without your input. But at the same time, you got to remember, these are 2 copywritten characters that weren't Chris's in the first place, and then Chris wasn't updating his people frequently enough. I guess as Alec was saying, I doubt anyone really cared about Chris's comic pages coming out, but they're just kind of concern trolling, trying to get Chris to be like, hey, you need to put your foot down, really get on this. But it just shows how long it took Chris to finally spill it and say, and it's because you're doing it and not me. I feel like he was trying to get that out for like the past 10 minutes, but kept making excuse after excuse and just couldn't think of the right words to say it.
Yeah, that's right. I'm drawing the pages. You're not drawing anything. Or you say you are, but we have
you're wrong. I have been drawing the pages, and I have been coloring them.
But you're not uploading them.
Because I'm too busy working on coloring them after I have drawn them all up.
Hey, Chris.
And plus, I have real life things like I have to hang out with my family. I have errands to run.
One of the most underrated things that Chris says in these calls is when he says, he tries to use it as an excuse as to why he's not doing his one thing that he has to do, the one thing that he wants to make his future, the most important thing for him. Well, he can't do that because he has to hang out with his family sometimes. And that's an excuse that Chris uses a lot. He always says, like, oh, his family needs this, his family needs that. And of course they do. They're old. They're old as shit at the time, they're old now. Bob's gone, but Barb's still, she's pretty old. And, but even then, the thing is, though, Chris most of the time just spent in his fucking room, beating his dick, playing video. He wasn't helping them no matter what, but he always manages to use it as an excuse. It's kind of like what old Cyrax does nowadays. Just because they live with their family, and when people call them on it, they use the excuse, it's because I help them, and I have to do all these things for my family. When no, Chris never did a damn thing. He bitched about having to mow the lawn. You think he really was ever doing real work around the house, cleaning intensely? Absolutely not. He probably moved a couple books and then was just panting every time Barb said, Chris, can you move that? It's like, all right, Mom, this has got to be enough now. Chris never wanted to actually do shit in his house. He probably pitched a fit every time. And then him saying he had to run errands, he probably just had to run down to wherever the fuck, grab them a couple things, and then come back. It's not like all day work like Chris is implying that it is. And even if they were just hanging out like Chris said, the house was too cluttered anyway. There wasn't enough open seats for like the three of them. Maybe I think the last time the house looked like that was in 2004 during the Christmas video. But I guarantee you, Chris was not hanging out with his family. Using the family is just another excuse he can use to try to get Alec off his back. And like usual, it does not work.
Chris, take a guess. All right, I want you to guess between Chris. I want you to guess between 1 and 10. How many hours did I spend in school yesterday? Take a guess right now.
How many hours you spent in school yesterday?
Yes.
The average of 10.
That's right. I spent 10 hours in school yesterday. I also uploaded a page of Phonecall Revolution yesterday.
Well, what about your job? You have your job as well.
I didn't. Yeah. What about my job? I upload pages while I have a job and school. So what about my job?
Yeah, well, you're spending your time there as well.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, well, I admit, I'm not sure really what the point I was trying to make there. I lost my train of thought.
Okay, well, yeah, it's true that, yes, I spend a lot of time in school and a lot of time at my job. And I have errands too. Not really for my family. I don't live with my family, but I do errands on my own.
Yeah. All right, well, okay, well.
Chris is just in a completely malicious mindset now, only thinking of like trying to insult Alec or thinking of one-ups on him. That's why he brings up, well, I bet you spent time at your job yesterday. Like this guy's gonna go like, you got me, Chris. I was there, I totally was. I'm such a loser. Like, he's just trying to make ways that he can like prove that Alec is wrong. But at the end of the day, he even realizes it. He's like, you know what? I don't even know where I'm going with this one. Let's just backtrack on it. And really what Alec is trying to do here is get Chris to realize, like, wow, this guy does so much stuff. This guy does so much stuff in his daily life. He goes to school, he has a job, and he writes the comic. Man, I'm not on the ball, but all Chris is thinking is, man, this guy's a friggin' liar. This guy's a liar. Like, he doesn't believe none of this. You can tell it in the tone of his voice. That's as soon as he questioned the job thing, you knew he didn't believe it. And, I probably don't believe it either. I don't know if Alec was doing that much at that time. Maybe he was, but, I mean, if you're sitting here trolling Chris for, like, a few hours every night, I don't think that's where you're going to spend your few hours of sleep that you get after doing all those things trolling Chris. But maybe, who knows? Maybe Alec was just really into trolling Chris. But I mean, yeah, it's still so funny to hear Chris just try to insult someone and then not know like what he was even trying to insult them for in the first place.
How much time? You've mentioned that several times that you like have to run errands for your family. Like, what do you have to do for them? What did you do yesterday? How like, are they having you break rocks with sledgehammers or something all day? Because you say it's like some, huge serious thing.
Yeah, well, they're old. I have to do chores for them. I have to do chores for them around the house. Like I even shoveled snow to make a path for them and get the cars out. And my car, the two front tires were stuck in their own dug grooves, and we finally got the car out of those two grooves today.
So you've been like working on that solid nonstop, just digging your car out? I mean, I live in Minnesota. We get some bad snowstorms sometimes, and my car will just get completely buried in snow. And it might take me, like, in the worst case scenario of storms, it might take me half an hour to dig enough snow out for my car to move. We usually don't get that much snow, though.
God, I'm such a loser for what I'm about to do, but, I'm genuinely curious about this because at first, you're thinking Chris lives in Virginia. Alec is supposedly living in Minnesota. I feel like you get a lot more snow in Minnesota than you do Virginia. And earlier in this call, Alex, or maybe it's even later in this call, I think it was earlier in this call, Alec brings up that, he owns Asper Chew, trademark 2010, Alec, Benson, Leary. So I'm like, okay, this took place in 2010. And now I'm thinking, well, let me go on Google and look up what's the highest snowfall in Virginia in 2010. And I mean, fuck me, this is what we see. So I'm not sure what day this was recorded, but if it was on this day, well, the snowiest day ever that Virginia saw was in 2010. Now, I saw where Fairfax is, and it's like 100 miles north of where Chris lives. Maybe even a little shorter. But yeah. So, like, it's actually not that unbelievable that Chris had, like, a really bad snow day. But when it comes to Chris, you know that even, like, 25 inches of snow, let's cut it in half of that and say Chris got, like, 9 inches of snow, right? That still, for Chris, is, like, back-breaking work. Because, like, remember, he didn't even want to move a doghouse. He said that, he had to mow the lawn and pull weeds on really hot days. And no, he definitely wouldn't be down with shoveling no snow because Chris probably doesn't like the cold either, knowing him. He's a homebody. So can I see Chris like being honest about this? Yeah, I can, because I imagine that's something that like really probably annoyed him, where he was like, this is such hard work. I bet you after that first tire, he just wanted to keel over and was like, all right, this is too much. But no, I don't know if he got that car out. I assume he did, because you can't send like 78-year-old Bob out there. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure, because I was thinking like, I'm going to look this up and it's going to say Virginia got 2 inches of snow in the whole of 2010. But no, that was at least the snowiest day on record there. And well, like I said, that's kind of a shocker, but yeah, it doesn't really matter. Just wanted to point that out. But like I said, Chris he'll find any reason to complain about stuff. Like Alec brings up, it really does seem like the way Chris describes it, like it's just some back-breaking work, some terrible stuff his family makes him have to do. But no, it's just common chores, but stuff to Chris that are like these labors, these terrible things, but he'll never admit that they're actually just chores.
You said some chores around your house too, like besides shoveling. What else do you have to do?
I clean the kitchen. I vacuum. I move stuff around. I clean the bathroom as well. I do a lot of things around the house.
You kind of sound like you're talking to someone who has not seen that video tour of your house right now. And I want to let you know that I actually have seen it. So I'm pretty sure that house is back. Chris, can you hear me? Hello? Chris, are you pressing buttons?
Hey, Alec?
Hey, Chris, did we get disconnected there?
Yeah, I'm afraid we did. It happens to me between me and my gal pal as well in our conversation sometimes. Reception goes bad during this time of night.
Oh, okay. Well, glad I got you back.
So in a last-ditch attempt to get Alec off his back, Chris pulls button mashing out of his back pocket and just starts, like, you can imagine, he's on the landline at his house, so the phone's probably hooked to the wall. He's probably just, like, hitting buttons on the wall just back and forth, ding, 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 He thinks this is gonna work, and, for a while there it does, because Alec's just really taken aback, like, what the fuck is what's going on here? But, it's so telling that this is Chris and it's not, like, some weird phone error, because as soon as Alec says, Chris, are you pressing buttons? Done. It's off. That's that. Because Chris knows right there, he got shook and was like, oh no. Just hit decline or hit end or whatever it said on his phone, and yeah. But when Alec calls him right back, there's not much, you can't really sense it, but you can tell there's a little bit of defeat in Chris's voice, because he's like, damn, I thought I got him. And this is genuinely also, Chris doesn't have to make a defense for why his house looks the way it does, because he's like, he's claiming all these things, that he cleans and vacuums and does all this, but when Alec brings up that, it doesn't look that well in this house video you took, Chris freezes. He's like, uh-oh, I'm caught. He's seen it. Even though I wanted the whole internet to take it down because Bob said so, this guy's seen it, He'd still, in that moment, he probably, like, when he's saying all these things, talking about how he cleans his house and all that, even though he knows he's lying, he doesn't realize that there's, like, solid proof out there that can prove somebody wrong. And you're about to see that now, because he's still going to try to flip-flop on it.
Okay, well, we were talking about the chores you need to do, I think, in your house. So you're saying you clean your house up?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Have you cleaned your room at all?
Yes, I do clean my room.
How much do you clean it? Like,
yeah, I clean my room like once a week.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so how long does it take when you do that? Because if you do it once a week, you know, that's just like maintenance, and
it takes me 2 hours.
2 hours. Okay.
Yeah.
How long does it take you to clean the rest of the house?
It pretty much takes me 1 to 2 hours per room.
Okay.
So hold up. It takes 2 hours to clean Chris's room. It takes 1 to 2 hours to clean every other room in the house. So let's just estimate here. I don't know how many rooms there is exactly in Chris's house. I know he has I think they have like a living room upstairs kind of and like one downstairs. I don't know, but let's just say like 5 rooms, okay? There's probably more. But Chris is spending a total of 7 hours. like I'm not going to say 2 hours for each because then we'd be at like 10 hours, 12 hours. But like 7 to 8 hours, even like 6 hours, Chris is going to try to tell this guy that he's spending cleaning a day. Like, come on. That's like, no. Like, you could walk by Chris's house and see things just popping at the windows because they're so pushed against the wall. His house is never clean. And for him to claim this is just so ridiculous, but obviously he's willing to say anything, true or fake, mostly fake, just to get this guy off his back.
Like what do you do when you clean? Like, what specific stuff do you do?
I move stuff around. I take the vacuum cleaner. I vacuum. I scrub the floors with 409 and paper towels. Really hard work, backbreaking.
Backbreaking?
Yeah, my back hurts.
I hope you don't mean your back hurts from cleaning.
Yeah, after an extensive long time. I mean, sure.
I thought you were strong, Chris. Why would your back?
I am strong.
How strong are you? Like, because I've seen some videos.
Believe me, I'm very strong. Believe me, I'm very strong.
It's a classic Chris thing to do to claim that he's extremely strong after complaining about such a menial thing. And as you can see on screen right now, Chris is just showing his strength by doing some awesome pull-ups, you know? Just these insane pull-ups at a child's playground with traffic going by in the background, probably looking over and going like, what? What is that? What is going on over there? But yeah, Chris, that's strength right there, ladies and gentlemen. That is pure, unadulterated friggin' strength.
Really? Like...
Anybody would say that, like, yeah, they just feel like their back goes after a very extensive time scrubbing the floors, getting up and down as well.
You should get a Swiffer wet jet, because then you can stand while you're scrubbing the floor. I use it. It's really useful. It's quick, too.
We don't have that here.
Oh, maybe you could sell some of those video games like I was talking about, then you could afford one. Have you thought at all about selling any more of your games, Chris?
I have no plans. I have no plans for that at the moment.
Why would you want to hold on to video games that you don't play anymore?
I do play them, and I feel nostalgic.
All of them? Chris, you've got how many hundreds of games do you have, and you play all of them regularly? Is that what you're telling me?
Regularly, like, yeah. I'd say, on a regular basis, I do.
Every single one.
Yeah.
That must take a lot of time.
Yeah.
Is video game playing backbreaking too? Just out of curiosity. I wouldn't think it would be.
No, but it's one way for me to relax after I have done the work of cleaning a room or shoveling the snow in the yard.
Okay, but you only clean once a week, and shoveling, that doesn't happen all the time. I know Virginia got a snowstorm recently, right? But that was kind of like a one-time thing.
Okay, so maybe I was right on the snowstorm because maybe that's the one Alec is talking about. But nonetheless, Chris trying to say that, oh yeah, he plays every video game of his like pretty regularly. That's so much time. Like, so you're telling me all you do all day is clean and play video games, just nonstop cleaning, nonstop gaming. The nonstop gaming I can believe, the nonstop cleaning, and not so much.
Well, okay, just to correct you, I was not talking about cleaning period once a week. You're talking about cleaning my room once a week, and then we have other. Then it's like on another day I'll clean up the kitchen, and on another day I'll clean up the living room. On another day I'll clean up my parents' bedroom.
Chris, I've seen the video tour of your house.
That was over a year ago.
Over a year ago. Was it, you really? You should film a new tour then, actually. Because people still think that your house is, like a mess like that.
I'll consider that.
You really should. It'd be a good idea.
You can tell the second Alec starts going at the house tour video again, Chris immediately starts getting jumpy, and he's like, well, that was like a year ago, Alec, and with how Chris talks, he always talks about, oh, that was over a year ago, that was so long ago, he never changes, this stuff never changed, the house just got more and more filled. And then when Alec tells him at the end, maybe make another house tour video, Chris had like numb flashbacks, he was like, uh-oh. Not a shot, because Bob this time will come in and just be like going nuts the second people show him that. So, that second house tour never dissolved if you're not too shocked about that.
Chris, here's what I don't get about you. There are so many things like, if your house is clean, you could just make a video and show people that. And if you've really been working on the pages, you could just upload that. And if you wanted to prove to people that you have Nintendo's permission to use Pikachu, shit like that, you could just show them the letter that Nintendo sent you that gives you permission. Why do you take the hard way through everything? Why do you want to keep receiving, demands and questions about this and that subject when one little action on your part could just stop all of it?
Because for me, it's not all that easy.
What's not easy about it? Like, okay, the Nintendo...
Also, my father's still very angry at me for doing that video, touring the house over a year ago.
Yeah, Alec is completely right when he says that Chris has had, like, every opportunity, If he wanted this stuff to stop, like, a little bit of action on his part could have done that. But he refuses to take any action about anything because he's Chris. And then Chris goes on to say that for him, it's not all that easy. And, you think he's going to talk about how, he can't understand these things, he can't, like, process them. But no, that now he's jumping all the way back to the, my dad was really mad at me last time I took that video. So now he's responding to that. But when he says that these things, like, he can't understand them and he can't respond to them well, of course he can't, because he can't respond to criticism at all. And that's what all these things are, they're criticisms. And even though that is just the way that Chris is, that he can't understand these things, that he can't accept criticism, the fact that he can acknowledge that he doesn't like being talked to that way, should be enough for him to be able to sit down and go, why don't I? But then again, I don't know what it's like living in Chris's brain, so I'm not even going to touch that one.
And he's an 82-year-old man. He's very angry.
Why was he angry about it?
It's
Just
like an invasion of privacy.
Well, how's an invasion of privacy? You live there. I mean, it's your house. If you choose to upload a video, that's not an invasion of privacy. If you try to videotape people without their consent, that would be an invasion of privacy. But I don't think your parents are in.
You don't understand. And I forget all the details my father said, but he's still very angry at me for having done that.
All right. Well, if you say he's angry, then okay, that's that. But. What about, like the Nintendo thing? Did Nintendo, write you a letter saying, yes, go ahead and use Pikachu? Couldn't you just scan that and show that to people? Because everybody... You misplaced it?
Yeah.
That seems like a really important thing. How could you misplace that? And if you clean your house so regularly, I mean, it seems like you would find things that you had lost regularly.
Yeah. Moving stuff, I had the letter went with that stuff, and then it got misplaced that way.
I'm sure you could just actually call up Nintendo, because, I mean, that would be, the legal department of a company keeps records of everything they do. They would be happy to just, fax you or send you another copy of the letter.
I'll keep that in mind.
Because businesses lose paper sometimes, and that's why there's redundancy. That's why. And not only your fans, but if you showed that letter publicly, then I couldn't demand that you admit Sonichu's a doomed franchise. Now, could I? You wouldn't even have to do the reboot. I mean, think about it. If either you reboot your entire comic that you've been working on for 10 years, that's one choice, or your other choice is you just call it Nintendo and ask them to send another letter and show it to everyone.
All right.
Destroy 10 years of personal hard labor, or show a letter.
All right. Well, I will look into that later.
You can tell that Chris is pinned into a corner, because when he says, I misplaced the letter, he doesn't know what to say, because he doesn't expect to be pressed on this. But it's so funny that he actually goes along with the idea that Nintendo sent him a letter, that it's all cool to do this, but I just can't find it, no one knows where it is, I misplaced it somewhere, sorry, and I guess I can't prove this to anybody, everyone's just gonna have to believe me. He doesn't get this at all. He doesn't get any legal stuff. He doesn't get how copyright works. He really doesn't understand this. And when Alec is giving him all these ways that, hey, if you show it, you can do this, you can do this, he's just not. If he really was about it, he'd be so about getting rid of all these things just by showing that letter. But he knows deep down in his heart that letter does not exist. They would have never sent that to him. But I bet you in that moment, Chris was maybe thinking, look, maybe I could try to forge one up and see if old Alec will take a bite on that one.
Okay. This is reminding me of, in your recent, you started updating the mailbags again. Let me take a look at a mailbag, because I don't remember the exact phrase, but you responded with kind of a stock phrase to a lot of letters. Let's see here. Where is it? Oh, your letter has been read fully and your thoughts have been inputted, inputted, and accepted for better improvement. Thank you for your time and efforts. Chris, you spend even less time responding to these emails than you do normally. What's up with that?
For your information, I should read and reread each letter before I make a final response.
But your final response is not thought out at all. See, again, this is kind of an interesting parallel to your comic work, because you say that Chris, let me talk. Don't interrupt people, right? Now, I will let you speak after I finish this sentence. This is how it goes. One person speaks, the other person responds. The first person. Okay. You say that you spend a lot of time reading and rereading and really considering the letters, but when it comes time for the final step, which is, the response, you don't really put any effort into that. And that's an interesting parallel to your comics, because you say you spend a lot of time drawing and coloring and, preparing your pages, but that final step, uploading them, you don't put any effort into that. So it kind of sounds like you go 90% of the way, but you don't actually finish that crucial last 10%.
You see, what Chris was about to say before Alec got really mad and just started fucking screaming at him was that, he doesn't have, he can't grasp these letters. He can't think of good responses to them. And the reason is what I just brought up, is that they're all really criticism, and Chris can't fathom that, And that's why most weeks when he does his mailbag, he gets tons of letters, and all of them are asking him genuine, criticizing questions. And the few that are good are the ones that get through. And the ones that aren't, those ones just get, the copy and paste reply, your thoughts have been taken into consideration, just like he's telling Alec here. Just saying, I understand you, and I'll work on it, and he never works on it, he never will. It's just Chris's way to brush stuff under the rug, which he's been doing in this call, and he did his whole life, and he still does.
And just to let you know, people are mad about this stock response that you made.
Well, when it comes to the mailbag, it's just that, even after rereading it, I still could not come up with an appropriate response. So I had to go with a neutral response.
Why? What do you mean you can't come up with a... There's a lot of different subjects of these letters, and you give the same neutral response to everyone. Are you telling me that all of these subjects you really can think of absolutely nothing?
There are a few subjects of which I come up blank. Yes, I'll admit that.
Okay. Someone wrote you a letter about your comments about homosexuals being bigoted and offensive, and you gave the stock response to that. That seems like a huge kind of Achilles heel with you, is if people mention the word homosexual, your mind goes blank.
Well, yeah, plus I could not think of an appropriate response to that letter.
Your comments, I'm reading the letter right now, your comments on homosexuals are bigoted and offensive, you want a vaccine for them just because they tick you off. Those last two parts, those are actually very clear questions as far as I can see. If someone asked me, do you want a vaccine for them just because they tick me off? I would explain, well, homosexuals don't actually tick me off, and I would never want to vaccinate them. I just came up with that right now. That would be my response if such a question was asked of me.
It really is kind of astounding that Chris couldn't come up for an answer for that. Couldn't, with all the lying he's doing here, with all the amount of times he's telling Alec, no, I don't think like that. No, Alec, you're wrong. I don't do this. I'm very driven. I'm this, that, the third. He couldn't think of one thing to say to that, to go, no, you're wrong. I don't think like that. But as you'll come to find out soon, it's because he 100% thinks like that.
And that's not even that long of a response. You don't need, a page worth of response.
Yeah, plus I perceived that because I perceived those statements as insults. And,
so we're back to everything is an attack on you. Remember when you thought that my ads were an attack on you? So now so you thought my ads were an attack on you. Now this homosexual thing, you've made plenty of offensive comments about homosexuals, which they could, and plenty have, interpreted as attacks by you. And so when someone asks you about them, how is that an attack on you?
And that letter you just read about, they call me bigoted.
That's because you are bigoted.
See, that's the thing with Chris, is that he'll point out, oh man, this guy insulted me. He called me bigoted. He never acknowledges the fact that he's insulted the gay community 10 times over, a million times worse. And this guy's not even saying an insult. He's just calling it like he sees it, and he's calling it like everybody else sees it too, because Chris is 100% that way. But to him, it's an insult to even point that out to him. To point it out is the real insult. Him doing that, that's A-okay. But to point out that he's wrong for doing that, you're the guy who's being mean here, all right? And when Alec points it out to him, you're about to find out later on, and sadly not in this part because we are going to have to end it today, that Chris, he still can't fathom that. And pretty soon, Chris is going to start screaming about Alec calling him lazy. I think it's about him calling him lazy, or him saying that, he doesn't put effort into things. I'm not trying to spoil it, but just want you to know that Chris's anger will soon show in full force, but you're just going to have to wait for that one, sadly. So with that being said, I want to give us shout-outs to Vanessa, Krabby, your mom, Sky, Club Doom, Cody Hale, the Ghostbusters fan, Echo Spectre, Scaly Schisms, Mick Surly, Akiva's Beat fan, Pythea, The Night Owl, Kaitan, Fiendland's Party Place, Churlish, Music Biz Marty's Bong, Moochie, Chris Chan's Fanta Bottle, Grant M, Adrian Lara, Sky Fitzpatrick, Vaga, Alright Stingy, Brian 1, G-Man, Blake Alston, Gypsy Panda, and Trademark. You guys are goats, and all y'all who are watching this, you are a goat as well. As I say at the end of all these guys, the weekend is fastly approaching, and I hope you guys have a great one. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week in general. And until the next one, I'm going to hop out of here. And yeah, I hope y'all take care and stay safe, my friends. I'll see y'all then.